Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Dan, your host. Hope you're doing great wherever you may find yourselves. Blessings to all, and welcome to a new playlist called How Good Is This Album? Today's album of choice to discuss is W.A.S.P, that is the Crimson Idol. Now, before I can go down the road and talk about how good this album is or isn't, I have to have a little prologue here, and that's because which version do you get? That kind of, because there are four different versions. Let me go ahead and explain that, and then we'll have the full discussion about how good is this album. So, the original version of the Crimson Idol came out on June 1992. You have 10 songs: The Titanic Overture, The Invisible Boy, Arena of Pleasure, Chainsaw Charlie, in parentheses, Murders in the New Morgue, appreciate the pun, The Gypsy Meets the Boy, Dr. Rocker, I Am the One, The Idol, Hold On to My Heart, and then finally The Great Misconceptions of Me, fabulous song. 10 songs, 57 minutes and 47 seconds long, so almost an hour. Then you get the 1998 remastered version. This is a 2 CD set. You get all the tracks I mentioned above, plus 2 single B-sides, and that is Phantoms in the Mirror and Eulogy. And then you get the prologue, The Story of Jonathan, which is about 16 minutes, 50 seconds, thereabouts. And all of that is Blackie narrating an introduction. And then there's, as midway through the song, there's some acoustic guitar that comes in. So it is a song, but it's like I said, a narrative, a prologue, if you will. I do like it. More on that later. And then the rest of the side 2, or disc 2 rather, is a cover song that you do Led Zeppelin When the Levee Breaks, I believe, and then live recordings of various songs, not all of them from the Crimson Idol. And then the third version, so 1992 the first version, 1998 the second version remastered, then the third version, the Crimson Idol Re-Idolized, 2018. This has 4 new tracks, or 4 tracks that weren't on the other 2. You get Hey Mama, The Lost Boy, The Peace, and Showtime. These 4 come after Hold On to My Heart and before The Great Misconceptions of Me. 2 CD set also, splitting it in half. And then with this, the Crimson Idol Re-Idolized, you get a Blu-ray disc and a DVD disc of the movie that accompanies. So it's the soundtrack. Here it is, the soundtrack to the Crimson Idol. This is a 4-disc set. Again, 2 CDs, a DVD, and a Blu-ray. I just upgraded from the original CD last week, and I paid $16.99 for all 4 discs from Amazon, plus tax. That's a steal if you ask me. So 81 minutes long, 4 extra tracks. Then, as you know, if you're a W.A.S.P fan, not too long ago, a few weeks ago, a month ago, W.A.S.P put out Savage the first 7 releases from the album, including the Crimson Idol, and which you get, and that's disc 6 in the box set. So 2025, you get the original 10 tracks, plus you get on disc 7 Phantoms in the Mirror, the Eulogy, The Story of Jonathan, the prologue, and then you get a bunch of cover tunes that you may have or not have, depending on which versions of previous CDs or albums of the band that you have. However, with this new box set, you're missing Hey Mama, The Lost Boy, The Peace, and Showtime. And so that's one of the reasons why I did not get the box set. Plus, I already have the first album, the 4th album on CD, and I don't have a problem with the production. So tempted, but I didn't pull the trigger on that. Don't think I'm going to. That may change. So which version is the best? I'm going to say go with this. Now, I haven't heard the box set with respect to production and the remastering and that sort of thing, but this sounds great to me, so I don't need an upgrade. And here's why my suggestion is to go with this. It's because of those 4 songs, which weren't on the original 2 versions, and it's not on the box set, just the one of the 4 versions. And I think you get the full story. So that's why I'm recommending you get this. Now, having said that, if you get this version, you're missing 2 songs. You're missing you're missing 3. You're missing the narrative prologue, Jonathan, the story of Jonathan, and you're missing Phantoms in the Mirror, and you're missing Eulogy. So what I've done is, again, I've bought this, I've purchased this, then I downloaded from Amazon, digital download, the 2 songs, Phantoms in the Mirror and Eulogy, and then put them last after the way the album ends with The Great Misconceptions of Me. And I'm going to talk about whether or not those 2 songs should be at the end. But we'll get there. So, again, I'm recommending the Crimson Idol Re-Idolized, the soundtrack to the Crimson Idol. Again, 4 discs, all right? 2 CDs, and then a Blu-ray and a DVD, depending on what your preference is for visual stimulation. So I'm on board and a big fan of the 4 songs, Hey Mama, The Lost Boy, The Peace, and Showtime. So let's get started. Here is my discussion and review, retrospective, if you will, of Crimson Idol. Okay, let's begin. So you get Titanic Overture, and right off the bat, you can hear Blackie Lawless's influence or inspiration that he took from The Who. Definitely, if you're a Blackie Lawless fan or a W.A.S.P fan, you know that Lawless was hugely inspired by the band The Who. It definitely shows here, and this is not a bad thing. He's not copying note for note. He's not borrowing note for note. It's definitely, you hear the inspiration. You don't, hear total dominating, lifting, and trying to take credit from someone else's work. It's not doing that. You hear it, and it's a marvel. It's wonderful to hear that inspiration. And you see it rather, and hear it in the song titles and some of the stuff going on in other places. So, for example, Titanic Overture is wonderful. The title, it's got Overture in it, and of course, Tommy has a song called Overture. Nothing wrong with that. You have some acoustic guitar here, and then some of the drums here are definitely have that Keith Moon feel. Is it totally Keith Moon? Totally, stolen from Keith Moon? No, but it's definitely inspired from the wonderful drumming that was and is Keith Moon's style. And you also get some keyboards here. I love this opening piece to the album. It's what you do with a concept piece, right? Next is The Invisible Boy. Think, again, Tommy, it's a boy. Very similar, definitely carrying onto the second track, that Tommy inspiration. But also you have some Quadrophenia inspiration here as well. The song is a blend of influences of The Who from Quadrophenia and Tommy, I think, because there's definitely some Quadrophenia tone to the music here, more so than Tommy, but it's a little bit of both. The tone here is definitely similar to The Real Me, and of course, that W.A.S.P does a version of The Real Me, but it's not the same. But it seems like it could fit on that album as well. So, but The Last Command. But I'm sorry, I take that back. The Last Command. Headless Children. Excuse me. So, and then in the lyrics, Blackie mentions the mirror. Okay. This is intentional. Okay, this is a motif throughout the story here in this piece, this album. And of course, with Tommy, you have Smash the Mirror and that sort of thing. Tommy's deaf, dumb, and blind and that sort of thing. So the mirror is more of a metaphor. Very significant here as well, but for other reasons. So we're 2 songs in, and you already see this deeply in your face, but not borrowed, not lifted, inspiration from The Who, and it is a good thing. And you have Go to the Mirror and Smash the Mirror is what I was going to say. And part of the lyrics here in The Invisible Boy is, Who am I? So part of dealing with this album, the theme and the story is Jonathan coming to grips with trying to figure out his identity based on things that have happened to him over the years, his parents, his brother, that sort of thing, and himself. Next, you get the third track, Arena of Pleasure. You have some acoustic guitar. Again, you have that pinball wizard feel but not totally Pinball Wizard stolen, but imitation, imitation, but not, again, note for note, definitely inspired. It's great. Blackie's voice is phenomenal here. And it's a light and shade song. It begins light, then gets heavy as you go. And the guitar solo here is fabulous. Next, you have Chainsaw Charlie, Murders in the New Morgue. And this is akin to what Black Sabbath does with The Writ and Queen does with Death on Two Legs. But this is a fictional account of someone venting their angst towards the record label, in this case, their agent, perhaps both, for, manipulating things and being a total jerk kind of thing. And part of the lyrics here are deaf men and blind worms. So you have deaf and blind, a little, maybe a stretch, but, related to The Who. Worms, think Pink Floyd, right? Waiting for the worms. You have the lyrics are, part of it is murders in the New Morgue. That's the chorus. So again, record label woes. And then you have, in the middle of the song and then later towards the end, you have this Iron Maiden type galloping sound, which is quite cool. Next you get The Gypsy Meets the Boy, the fifth track. And at some point in the song, early on, Blackie belts out the phrase Gypsy Queen, which makes sense because being Who inspired, you have in Tommy the Acid Queen. And then if you look at the liner notes for the section of Tommy where the Acid Queen comes in, you see Gypsy. So there's that similarity. And Blackie belts, I'm a lost boy, can you help me? Crying for help is a major motif in this album. Halfway through, you get some more acoustic Pinball Wizard type stylings, but not exactly Pinball Wizard. And then this is a very moving song, and part of the lyrics is Blackie singing out as taking the role of Jonathan. I just want to be the Crimson Idol. Track number 6, great song. Everything so far is fabulous, okay? Michael's song is an instrumental. It's great. It's acoustic. It ends with the mirror crashing, breaking, I guess, Jonathan's fist going, head into the mirror. And of course, it's because Jonathan's brother in this fictional world passes away. And then you get the wonderful, compelling, emotional song Miss You, one of my favorite W.A.S.P songs of all time. It finds its way back on the last album, Golgotha. But here and there, it's marvelous. The vocals are just phenomenal. It gives me goosebumps. It's cathartic. It's just so moving, as I said. It's one of my favorite songs again. The first time I heard the song, I cried. And the guitar solo here, there's two, the middle and the end, both sound like Slash. Although Slash doesn't play on it, it sounds, the end especially, sounds like the guitar solo at the end of or during November Rain. And I like it. So Jonathan's missing Michael, and the previous song about his passing, as I mentioned, the mirror breaking is extremely symbolic. So Smash the Mirror, the Who inspiration continues here. And then at some point in the song, Blackie sings, will I ever be free from you? The hold that, the loss of his brother has on him, etc. And of course, you have a Who song on Tommy called I'm free, or I'm breaking free, or something like that. Free at last, something like that. So, pardon me. And then track number 8, you get Dr. Rocker, and of course, in Tommy, you have a doctor character. In Quadrophenia, you have a doctor character as well. So perhaps some more inspiration from The Who again. This is an upbeat rocking tune, unlike the previous two. And he shouts out, I get the irony, he needs a doctor, unlike, their cover of the Humble Pie tune covering Ray Charles, right? And he belts out at one point, can't you see the fire that's in my eyes? Really expressive, really this is a very contemplative piece. Very great song. Next you get I Am the One, and Long Live the King of Mercy is part of the lyrics. Look, Mama, what I've become, and wanting approval from Mom and not getting it, part of the major storyline. You get flourishes from the guitar and drums that are very Who-like. It's great. He wants love to set him free, but not getting it. And then part of the lyrics are kill the boy inside the man. Mirror comes in again as part of the words and the vocals, and chosen one as well. It ends with dialogue between Jonathan and the record label / agent. Then you hear a heartbeat lower in the register, and then he picks up the phone, dials it, you hear it ringing, and then is hello on the other line. And that's part of, if you read, one of the things I mentioned is you don't get the prologue here, but you do get it in writing. So if you don't want to listen to 16 minutes and 50 seconds, you get part 1 of the story here, and then on the back you get you get the rest of it here, and you get a booklet with all the lyrics for the songs on here. The problem with the prologue is not that it's long, or not that it's just for the most part Blackie speaking, narrating with some acoustic guitar, is that it kind of gives away what's going on in the song. So it's good to listen to after you've heard the whole album is my recommendation. All right, so back to the album. So he calls his mama on the phone. It's in the story, and you hear her pick up, and then it goes into the next song, which is The Idol. And he belts out, I'm a prisoner to my fame. The mirror motif returns in the lyrics. This is a very moving piece. Blackie's vocals, his voice is such a gift in general and here and in the whole album. Where's the love to shelter me? Again, part of the motif in the song lyrics. Only love can set me free. And again, freedom, that quasi-inspiration coming from Tommy and Quadrophenia, another motif. And what's interesting about this song, this is a great song too. So far, all the songs are great. I love them, all 10 so far. We'll see if that continues. One of the great things about the song is that there are 2 guitar solos, and they both sound like heavy metal versions of the guitar solo on Comfortably Numb from The Wall. And in the last part fades out just like on The Wall. It's glorious. Whether that's deliberate or not, I'm not sure. Same thing with the other song where it sounds like Slash on November Rain. Anyway, number 11 is Hold On to My Heart. My least favorite song, but it is a very good song. It's a nice ballad. You have wonderful, compelling, lovely vocals from Blackie, and the strings that come in are a nice touch. Next, you have Hey Mama. Here's where we get the 4 songs in a row that weren't on any other version, or not on any other version. This is a short interlude into the next song, which is The Lost Boy. But it's cool. There's some lyrics. It's great. It's moving. It's a tearjerker as well. And it's about the importance of having your parents in our lives. This song made me cry the first time I heard it as well. Then you get The Lost Boy. Again, another motif. There are many motifs in this album, whether musically or vocally or lyrically, that kind of thing. And he's just belting out, Hey Mama, Hey Mama, because he wants her love and he's not getting it. Then you get the peace. So he's asking for peace, and tied to that, he's asking for hope. He's asking for love. This is moving as well. It's great. And the song sounds like a Cinderella song. Here, Blackie sounds like Tom Kiefer quite a bit. Not exactly, but very close. It's a great song. Next, you get the song Showtime. Think of Pink Floyd, where Pink has to go out into the audience. Not exactly the same, but I think perhaps that was what Blackie was going for, perhaps not. It's a segue piece. Jonathan's talking to the mirror yet again, and you have a narrative quite like Meatloaf and Jim Steinman on the Jim Steinman album Bad for Good, where he's talking to the female character on the first album, Bat Out of Hell. It's Carla DeVito. Can't remember the woman on the second album. Maybe not. But would you offer your voice? Would you offer your throat to the wolf? Says Simon. There's something like that on the other album as well, where Meatloaf does the narrative. So it's very like that, except Jonathan is talking to the mirror. Then you hear the heartbeat again come in, low in the register, and then you hear the crowd waiting for Jonathan to take the stage, and you hear them chant, Jonathan, Jonathan. This is a nice segue into the great misconception of me, one of the highlights of the album. And the first part of the lyrics is "Welcome to the show." Again, kind of Pink Floyd-ish, not musically but lyrically. The lyrics are, I don't want to read them and ruin it if you're not familiar, but I was going to, but the lyrics are great and ambiguous. And there's this to and fro, because Jonathan is speaking at times to the audience, everybody. Sometimes he's speaking to the King of Mercy, and sometimes he's speaking to his mom. And in this piece, the song is a confession because he's confessing and pouring his heart out to the audience, and whether they care or not, it's another matter. So what the double-edged sword of what it means to be an idol or a rock star, right? And the differences between the performer on the stage, the actor, and the real person. So like the Who song "The Real Me" on Quadrophenia, dealing with this concept of identity. And do you know who I really am? Would you care to know the real me? That kind of thing. Do you know my story? Again, the drums here are very Who-like, Keith Moon-like, that is. And this song is just fantastic. And then at one point he sings, "Sweet silence, where is thy sting?" And then he reveals that his father was the idol. So a few lyrics here, but not too much to give too much away. And he then sings, "I don't want to be the crimson idol." This part is so moving. Goosebumps. And it's unclear as to whether or not Jonathan ends it all and deletes himself. And the song has a wonderful climax, although slightly cliched, but it's still wonderful. So if we go back to, the real person inside of my look, I remember when I was very young and impressionable, still watching MTV, and they were interviewing David Coverdale, and he's dressed like a rock star, and he's talking about how this is just a covering. This is not the real me, this isn't who I really am, or something like that. I don't have the exact words, and that's what's going on here. So it's ambiguous as to whether or not Jonathan ends it all, and then the song is over. So these 16 songs are marvelous. How good is this album? It's fantastic. To me, this is a masterpiece. Now, I do need to talk about Phantoms in the Mirror and Eulogy, because they're on the disc 2 of the 1998 remastered version, and they're not here, but I have them in a playlist at the end of all the songs I just told you. I'm not sure if that's where they go at the end. Well, I'm not sure. I take it back. I'm not sure if Phantoms in the Mirror is where it goes at the end. Again, the hard problem is, does Jonathan delete himself? And that's the question. So there's two ways to look at this, I guess. You can put it before the song Showtime, because that's the piece where he's talking to the mirror, because in Phantoms in the mirror says, "Come to me, come to the mirror, my boy." And you have wonderful Hammond organ here. It's great. And the guitar in this piece is great too. That is Phantoms in the Mirror. So you can either put it before Showtime, because it would make sense in the timeline that the mirror is calling him, and then Showtime, he does talk to the mirror, or you could leave it at the end after the last song, The Great Misconceptions of Me, in the sense that he hasn't deleted himself, and after the performance is over and he's poured his heart out, he's confessing to the mirror, or rather he's talking to the mirror. So it works either way. I'm not sure to keep it in the playlist where I have it now at the end in front of Eulogy. Eulogy makes sense to leave last. Now let me talk about how wonderful this song is. So I love Phantoms in the Mirror, and I love Eulogy. This song, Eulogy, has some amazing piano at the beginning and the end to make it full circle. There's some voices in the undertone of the mix. At first there's a slow, heavy percussion. Then the guitar comes in with faster drums. Then a riff comes in with Who-like guitar and drum flourishes, mostly Who-like drum flourishes. And then you get some lyrics from Blackie, and essentially the motif, "There was no love to shelter me again." And then when he says love, it's a scream, and it's beautiful, it's haunting, it's chilling, it's compelling. So Eulogy makes us think that, yes, he has now passed on, but how did he pass on? It's confusing. So, and there's something to be said of ambiguity, because if you're a thinking person, you want to be able to think, well, the mystery stays alive. It's kind of cool for that. So anyway, so I love this album. I liked it quite a bit. I would say the original version that I just gave to a friend to keep, since I have this now. This for me is the definitive version, plus the 2 songs, regardless of where they may go, which gives you 18 songs total. And I believe in having the full story. Again, that's why I didn't buy the box set. You have almost the full story, but I have to repeat yet again that to get the full story, you need to have Hey Mama, The Lost Boy, The Peace, and Showtime. They complete the story, and I'm glad I was able to get this. So yeah, this is a masterpiece of an album. It is now one of my favorite concept albums of all time. I was always curious about getting this, and because I have the full tracks now, this is definitely a masterpiece, where I thought the original version of just 10 tracks was very good or quite good, but this is complete. And I've already done a video on my favorite concept albums of all time. I'm not going to redo that, but this would be in there somewhere. I'm not sure where, top 10. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. Please post in the comments if you wish. Do you like this album? What are your thoughts? Thanks. Bye now.